so sorry about that.
But it's just so important. I think sometimes the children at their age don't understand the importance of it. So for us, it's easy for us to give you the information so that you know how important it is for the children.
So starting off, what is phonics? So at Yarborough Academy, we use the programme Supersonic Phonic Friends, and this is a Department for Education accredited letters and sounds programme. We use Read Write Inc for a long time here, but we decided to move over to Supersonic Phonic Friends, which is a smaller programme. However, we wanted the children to stay within their classes to do phonics rather than move into different classes and different groups. So phonics is the ability to be able to listen to sounds in words, recognising the spellings for the sounds in words, remembering the spellings, building words, reading words, whether this be flashcards or in a book, and then writing words as well. So it's lots and lots of things that we really feel strongly about. We really want to get phonics right in year 1 so that when they come into year 2, they're able to access more of the curriculum. If they can read a piece of text, it will make it much easier for them to understand it in year 2 rather than them having to decode it phonetically as they move further up into the school. So just thinking about some of the key vocabulary that we use every day with the children, but I know some parents struggle a little bit with some of the key vocab. So the top one is a digraph. So this is 2 letters that make one sound. You may have heard the children, if they see a digraph in a word, they'd say 2 letters, 1 sound, it's a digraph, like that. A trigraph is very similar. So that's 3 letters that make 1 sound, and again, they've got a little phrase. A trigraph is 3 letters, 1 sound, it's a trigraph. A split digraph is the trickiest. So this is a digraph that's split between a consonant or a letter in the middle, like A in make. So they're the tricky ones because children don't recognise those as much because they've got that extra letter in the middle. I say, and this is a bit of a Read Write Inc thing, I say that they're chatty friends that have had an argument and they've got someone else in the middle to split them up. And somehow the children seem to like that and be able to remember that. When we segment a word, we pull the words apart. So if we're segmenting bat, it would be but-at. And then when we blend it, we do a bossy blend at the end. So we say bat, but-at, bat, segment, and then blend. So for your child to pass the phonics screen check, your child should be able to know all of these sounds. They should be able to listen, recognise, build, read and write these words. This is the order in which we've taught these sounds, and I think most children seem to be okay with these ones at the moment. It's when we move into these ones on the next slide. So these are the ones that we're teaching at the moment. These are our choose to use sounds. And this is where it gets tricky because they've got to decide in a word which sound to use. Some of the choose to use spellings have a rule. So for example, the A and A that you see at the top there, we use the AY most of the time or all of the time at the end of a word, but AI in the middle. So that's easier because it's got a rule to go with it. Whereas when it's like E and E on the second row there, that's a bit trickier. They will have to decide which one looks right for them. There's no rule for that. So they will have had to see a word in a book beforehand to know if it's right or not. So they need that prior knowledge to know. So that's why those ones are a little bit trickier. So we really wanted to talk about the phonics screen check. So the phonics screen check is coming up in June, and this is something that happens nationwide for all children in year 1. This is a test that is filled with 40 words, 20 real words and 20 nonsense words. And everybody completes it in the same week in June. So in the test, Mrs. Harries or myself will sit with your child and we'll go through all of those 40 words. It is normally a pass rate of 32 out of 40. However, this could change. It hasn't changed in the past kind of 8 to 10 years. It's always been 32 out of 40 for a pass. However, it could change. So I don't mind telling you your child's score when they have done it in June. But if they are getting 32 and I'm saying it's a pass, just be mindful that that pass mark could change lower or higher, which I don't think it will, and I hope it doesn't. It takes about 10 minutes per child. It's not meant to be stressful or anything like that for the child. We've done so many practices with them, so they should have an idea of what's going to come up in the test. In the test, we've got these nonsense words. So the nonsense words are kind of there to catch the children out. So they're there to assess whether your son or daughter can decode a word using phonics skills and not just their memory. I've got a few children in year 1 at the minute who are sight readers. So they can instantly read a word just by looking at it. However, when it comes to the nonsense words, they just cannot do it. And that's because they haven't seen those words before, and that's why they're there in the test. These are just some examples of words in the check. So these are the easiest words that you will see. This would be like the first 4 words out of 40. And then again, the nonsense words there where you've got a little picture of an alien next to it. Again, that's the easiest level of words that we'll see. It does get progressively harder, and then it ends with words that try and catch the children out, like sequins or concrete, which are really, really tricky words.
And I think with the alien words as well, some children really struggle with them because they don't make sense. So you might find that your child struggles more with the alien words. So if they do, I would suggest practicing them more and saying to them, it's not going to make sense, and that's okay.
I find that some of the children try and make it into a real word as well, and it's like, no, it is what it is, it's there to try and trick you, it is a nonsense word. So yeah, just be mindful of that as well. You will get your child's results on the summer term report. However, I'm always happy to let parents know on the week that it kind of happens in June. However, again, just be mindful that pass mark might change if they are near 32. Don't worry too much if your child doesn't pass. They'll retake it in year 2, and it just means they'll get more support. But of course, we want the best for the children. We want them to pass. We want them to be the best that they can be in their reading and their phonics. And then the results from the check are used by us to assess the children. They're used by head teachers, Ofsted, things like that. So how can you help your child at home? So I would encourage your child to use the sound buttons or the dots and dashes. So we're finding at the minute children are really struggling to find the digraphs or the trigraphs. They're trying to sound it out. They're sounding out each letter individually, not noticing the digraph, and then it doesn't work at the end when they're blending it together. So if they do kind of like a little dash for the digraph or the trigraph, and then a dot for the single letter sounds, that should make it a little bit easier when they're trying to read it. Or if you don't want to do that, just ask them, can you see a digraph or a trigraph in there? And once they've spotted it, hopefully it becomes a little bit easier when they're sounding it out as well. Please, please, please listen to your child read as much as you can at home. We've got the reading records that we send out. We change the books weekly as well. So as much reading as possible is always going to support your child, and asking them questions as well, just to check their understanding. But it's just as important that you read to your child as well. I know you guys all probably do this already, but exposing them to new vocabulary, improving their listening skills and concentration always is a bonus.
The comprehension side of things is just so important especially when they move to year 2. So we've just done a reading assessment, and that requires the children to read quite a bit and then answer the questions. And we're finding a lot of the children at the minute are spending so much time segmenting and blending the words, but they're not actually actually taking in the information that they're reading, and that's key for them to be able to take in the information when they go into year 2, year 3, year 4, because their working memory is used to segment and blend. Then they're not going to be able to use that information for any of the questions because they've not actually understood what they've read. So the more they're fluent in their reading, they're then able to just do it like knowing how to drive a car. You're then thinking about everything else. So if they're able to just read really, really well, they're then going to be able to take that information in. So just have that in the back of your mind, and when the children are saying to you, this is too easy, that it's not, we want them to be able, you to ask them questions about the story and just check do they really know what they're reading.
We sent home the sound flashcards before Christmas as well. I know lots of you are using these, which is absolutely fabulous. If anybody needs any more, please let me know. I did send a little kind of newsletter that I made as well with some ideas on how to use the flashcards, like little games and things. Even if you don't want to do a game, just getting the flashcards out before bed and just going through them is always going to be helpful as well. So if your child is still struggling to decode a word, maybe point to each sound as they read it and then blend them together at the end together. Discuss the meaning of words if your child does not know what they've read, and lots of praise, of course, as well. So at school, this is kind of the things that we're doing as standard in school at the moment. So we're teaching phonics every day, following the Supersonic Phonic Friends programme. We're monitoring constantly, so every half term we are doing a practice phonics screen check, which we're going to start sending some of those out at home as well, so you will see some of those in their book bags shortly. Any children that are struggling that little bit more, they will be in the pre and post teach interventions. This is where they have a sneaky look at the sound in the morning, then we teach the lesson, and then they have an application lesson in the afternoon, which is post-teach, and this is done by our teaching assistants, and that's just to kind of build their confidence and give them that sneaky look, and then let them apply it at the end of the day as well. It's our student-led conferences in a couple of weeks' time, so if you haven't done, please make sure you make an appointment. We'll be chatting about phonics and reading a little bit more then, and letting you know individually about your child's score and things like that. We send phonics homework out every week. If anybody wants any ideas or games or resources, please let me know and I can sort that. I'm doing a phonics club at the moment, which I may do again in summer term if we can get the numbers. And then if your child is still struggling with blending, we have got interventions for that as well. So we're doing lots of things. It's very phonics heavy in year 1 as we move towards the phonics screening check in June. So hopefully that was a little bit helpful. It gave you some ideas perhaps of how you can improve your child's phonics and reading at home. You know what we're doing in school, working really, really hard to kind of make your child be the best that they can. Has anybody got any questions about phonics, reading, books, anything at all?